I'd like to call the Tuesday, July 20th, 2021 Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. It is 9 a.m. and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance with Tim Warner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion for approval of minutes?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Public comment in person via Facebook Live. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak this morning? Anything public comment?
Nothing yet.
Social media? Okay. Deputy Clerk Treasurer Lehman, claims approval.
We have Civil City claims in the amount of $628,962.70. That does include our July health insurance.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the civil city claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Next is sewage claims in the amount of $843,644.67. That does include two pay requests 5 and 6 to Sells Construction for the Lakeside project, totaling $578,656, and also their monthly transfers.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have water claims in the amount of $270,715.86.
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
And finally, we have the July 9th payroll in the amount of $420,420.91.
I move we approve the payroll.
Second.
Do I have a motion and a second? Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Well, I'd like to say, if you all remember, a year ago, we were in a difficult situation with our police department. We were at probably one of the lower times in the career, at least, of Chief Breton, while you've been an officer, down to 31 officers. And great news in a year, thanks to your new leadership and the team. We are now up to 44, and we have a new officer, Taylor Atkinson, that will be sworn in today, and quite a bit of support and family with him. Plus, I saw somebody with a box of, has to be either donuts or cake, so we will be monitoring that as well. But Chief Breton, if you'd like to take center stage, and Taylor, there's no turning back. Come on up.
Should we move around?
Come on.
You have to get up here, you don't get off that easy. Face me and raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Taylor Atkinson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will, to the best of my ability,
I will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect,
preserve and protect,
defend the laws
defend the laws
of the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
of the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and I will,
and I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully execute
faithfully execute
the position of police officer
the position of police officer
for the city of LaPorte,
for the city of
for
LaPorte,
the state of Indiana,
state of Indiana,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Mayor's gonna want you to tell a little bit about yourself.
11 years, and it's a big change, so.
First time, right?
First time.
How about all the family? Gotta get a photo. These are moments you don't. You all wanna take one while we got there?
Oh, he does have a crowd here, doesn't he?
Taylor, is that your phone?
I can take cameras for whoever.
Terry, you gonna acknowledge who's with us today?
These are my grandparents. First people were my parents.
Who brought the cake?
And it's my girlfriend, 5 years.
Does she have a name?
I think the staff in the building's gonna come in next.
And this is my girlfriend's family.
Stay right there.
Hold it so long.
Check your phones, make sure.
Come on, can't hide in the back.
Hey, Bill, guess it's Zeldin. Have you done that yet?
I see Don Burcham's in the back. I see Don Burcham's in the back. Has he got something there?
Is he?
Yeah, he's right under.
Oh, he's back there. About the house, yeah. Oh, my God. I saw the plans.
Welcome to the family, Taylor.
He's got a great support system.
And the best part of it, the family,
He goes,
you're not forced to stay if you don't want to, so that's all up to you. Don't feel pressured.
one he goes to.
If you haven't met Annette, she'll keep the finger hut, one of them, or whatever you have there.
That's kind of selfish, just thinking about yourself.
Shouldn't have enough to go around, I don't think. All right, we will move now to department heads. David Heinhold, Planning.
I have nothing new to update the board this week, but later on the agenda, on those agenda items.
You do have something, you're just waiting. Perfect. Mark Schreiber, Park Department. And I'm gonna say it, we had idiots that went out and graffitied the skate park, so, again, that's the big moment in their life. We will catch them, we'll ask the public for support, but, you know, Mark, you've got a great team that puts people out there to give our residents great options, and we, again, have idiots that, have to go out cowardly at night whenever they do, when nobody's out there, and graffiti the nice things that you have. So just remind any of the community knows something, we're coming for them, and we don't accept it.
Yeah, it's discouraging for staff. You know, I think sometimes they don't think it through that somebody has to go and clean all that up. And, you know, we just painted the ramps last year, and the trash being strewn about, the cans down in the bowl. I mean, that's a big cleanup for a crew that's working really hard through the summer months, especially with Lake Fest and other big things coming up. So discouraging, but you know, we never let it get us down. You know, we'll stick right with it. So, but speaking of Lake Fest, that's why I wanted to hit on this morning. Hopefully everybody here knows Lake Fest will be July 30th through August 1st. All the information is on LaporteLakeFest.com or on our Facebook page, City of LaPorte Lake Fest. We're really excited about what we have going on for that. The committee's worked really hard over the past few months to bring together a lot of great events. Obviously, the Aquacross jet ski races on the Saturday and Sunday are a big part of that. We have concerts Friday, Saturday, Sunday out at the amphitheater, sand volleyball tournament, Venetian boat parade, downtown events, kids activities, a 5K run, sunset paddle, a teen night, collective artisan market, along with some art demonstrations from high school students and some local artists. A little something for everybody, as you can tell. So we're really excited for that. It's all come together real well. So we need support. We hope everybody comes out to enjoy it. You know, we're still looking for a few more volunteers within our city team, so hopefully everybody's logging on and taking advantage of those opportunities. And then my only other note tonight is our park board meeting on Wednesday will be at 4:30 instead of 4, which it usually is, and that'll be taking place at the Civic Auditorium, so just want to let the public know.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Jess Bruder, Communications.
Good morning. I don't have that much to report today. We continue to make progress on the website. The designers are hard at work in the back end. It's a slow process, but we'll get there soon. Mark already talked about Lake Fest, but I just wanted to add, we've had several residents reach out inquiring where to buy the t-shirts. T-shirts will be available for sale during Lake Fest weekend, Friday night at the downtown, as well as the amphitheater, and then Saturday and Sunday at the amphitheater and the aquacross races. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
The website's good. I just happened to look at it yesterday, check like the schedule of events, so it's really, kind of tells you what's happening in the location.
Beth West, Transport.
Good morning. Just a few things. A few meetings ago, I had reported that we had applied for a grant from the Glick Corporation from Cambridge Square. Happy to announce that we got a $5,000 grant from them. We have already received the check, and it's been turned over to the clerk treasurer's office. We'll decide what to do with it from there. We also just finished, with the great help of the clerk treasurer's office, we just finished a department audit by the State Board of Accounts. The DOT requires this when we turn in our national transit data information once every 10 years, and it was just my luck. This was our 10th year that we had to have it done. So I appreciate all their help, especially Joni. She helped me out with a lot of figures that I couldn't come up with. So we also finished, in the midst of all that, finished our second quarter report. Happy to announce we did over 8,500 trips in our second quarter. In 2019, it was 10,000. So we're slowly creeping back up to whatever normal is anymore. And we traveled over 28,000 miles during the second quarter. So,
Great.
thank you.
Is the audit complete from State Board of Accounts?
Yes.
Were there any issues?
Just
It
one
was
minor one.
Yes, it was just for transit because they needed their separate audit. The only issue is we're not on accrual basis, we're cash basis, and that will be a finding, but that's every community in the state of Indiana, so.
Yeah, they actually in their findings had said that that was almost, it seemed to be across the board. It wasn't just something, we weren't unique to that. It was several of
great.
us, so, yeah.
Good job.
Yep, thank you.
Jeff Batchelor, Code Enforcement.
Morning. Just kind of refocused. We hit Grove Street again with the police. We walked up and down Grove. We identified 6 vehicles that was removed from the properties over there. We placed 5 properties as chronic nuisance properties in that area. 2 of them we're actually in the process of condemning the places so that the people are moved out. One's already moved out. So we're focusing on, and then there's another part of town where there's another one that's the last step being condemned too, so that the people have to move out. So we are addressing the issues with people that don't want to follow the rules. There's constant police calls, put them on the chronic nuisance property. If they get 5 police calls, then they're removed with fines too, of course.
I just would like to remind everybody, the majority, I'll say 90%, are landlords that have no idea how to run a business. And everybody thinks you should just get in the business of owning rental properties. It's not easy. And everywhere that we put our police in danger, we put Jeff in harm's way and his team, everything is related to rental units. So I think it's important to know.
Yeah, I'd say about 90%. The one in the other part of town is a owner-occupied house, but the other are rental properties.
So I'm just saying, we're not gonna, when I see our officers here and Che in the back, we're not gonna put them in danger because the landlords aren't doing their job or don't know how to do their job.
Does this end up being an issue, though, when we can, we move people from just one location to another location, so they're moving from Grove Street, and then they just become a nuisance somewhere else?
Well, we're taking and closing down a place. Hopefully the landlords, because we're setting a different standard in the city of what's expected, the landlords step up and take that responsibility, because a lot of them will have evictions on their record or not being able to pay the rent and doing other things like that. So if they're doing what they're supposed to do and doing their due diligence, being accountable as a owner of a business instead of just a landlord trying to make money and just filling it, then everybody wins in the city. So I think that's really where everybody needs to step up and up their game so that everybody's on the same page and just not transferring, one problem child to another problem.
Right, okay, great. Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Plus, the police department, I think, are putting out warrants. They're following up on warrants now. We have transient individuals staying in these apartments, and Jeff shaking them up, police shaking them up. We find individuals that law enforcement's looking for, so. Tim Warner, water.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to remind the public that we are still continuing with our Lakeside project. That's a water main extension. One of the reasons why we're doing that project is there was already a construction project.
Tim, I'm sorry, can you put the mic closer?
There was already a construction project in that area, so we felt it was best to kind of piggyback along with Jerry's project just to keep the costs down on restoration. We're removing several very long service lines that, per ordinance, those residents are responsible for, from the curb stop to their house. Those houses are tapped over a block away. So by running this main down Lakeside, we're shortening up their service lines, which is going to help with water quality in that area, get rid of one of the dead ends that we talk about all the time in here, and also have one of those problem hydrants that we talked about a couple meetings ago with better flow to protect residents in that area. We're finishing up with Kankakee number 1. About a month ago, I came to the board and told them that we had a pump and motor issue with that well. Once we cambered it, we thought there might have been a problem with the screen. We noticed there was some severe plugging. Took advantage of already having all that equipment pulled out, went ahead and got it scheduled for a cleaning. Just keeps the cost down to do these projects when we already have all that equipment out of the well. So we're hoping they'll be done at the end of the week. We can go into testing protocol and get that well back online early next week sometime. Still waiting on permits from IDEM for the well field. They've they're holding us up a little bit right now, and it's just the nature of the beast. I think they're shorthanded just like everybody else is. I do have a site survey scheduled for August 3rd with IDEM. Hopefully that will give us the okay to go ahead and drill our test wells. Then we'll apply, once we get the results from the test wells, we'll apply for a 60-day construction permit after that. So we're still hoping to have those wells in late fall. Hopefully we have a mild winter, we can get the pipeline in and, continue on with the projects we have on our list for our construction bond money. And that's all I had this morning.
Hey,
That's
Tim,
all.
just another example that you deal with because of the old infrastructure, and we talk about increases to repair the infrastructure, put new infrastructure in Michigan Avenue.
Yes,
There's
yes.
just water coming out of the yard, and why is that?
Yeah, it was an older house built in the early 20s. They actually had two common taps that went into an 1.5-inch line, lead line, of course, from the main to the curb stop. It came up leaking in the street. So crews went in yesterday. We bored a new copper line from the main to the curb stop. Not only does that get rid of a small piece of old infrastructure that's the city's responsibility, but we also removed a lead line out of our system, which is always good. So yeah, it's a battle we fight every day with these service lines and old infrastructure, and we're just plugging away and chipping away at it a little bit at a time every day.
Jerry Jackson, wastewater.
The Monroe Manor tree cutting will start next week. They'll go through and they'll cut all the trees for the whole project. When they did it last time, it's a bit shocking because that neighborhood is really overgrown. And when they come through and do all those streets, so kind of a forewarning that it looks great when it's done if you go through, but it's a bit of a huge change when they do that work. I wanted to have Southmore drainage project quotes here today, but easements have held me up, so I'll have them for you next meeting. We applied for, I should have the total here. I don't have the total for the grants. We applied for SWIFT grants for the Waterworks well field, the letters and numbers sewer separation project, the phosphorus removal work we have to do for the treatment plant and our Headworks property. So it's $100 million in the grant, going to potentially 160 communities, maxed out at $5 million each, or a maximum of $5 million. So I don't know what we'll get, but it's worth a shot.
Well, the nice thing about that too, it's 2 rounds of 50 million. So it's 50 million this year and 50 million next year. So we'll be able to apply for it again also.
It was nice to be able to say these projects are funded. That increases the odds of us getting a grant because they know if they throw some money at us, we're gonna do the project. And if that happens, well, that just advances the other work we need to do.
When do you find out about that grant? Sorry.
The
Mark.
16th of August.
Oh, just around the corner.
Yeah, real quick.
That's great.
Is there a minimum amount in that grant for the communities? Just
Not
it's
that
capped
I've
at
heard.
5 million, but the
Yeah.
minimum could be whatever, okay.
Yep. And INDOT has picked their engineer for Indiana Avenue for the reconstruction, so it's about time we do that.
That's
So
great.
We'll get started on getting an engineer hired for the reconstruction of Indiana Avenue.
Nick Minnick, Engineering.
Yeah, I've had a couple calls and talked to a few people. We're struggling a little bit with NIPSCO and road closures. We have been for a while. It's not getting any better. We'd hoped that the project was kind of wrapping up. Just wanted to bring it to the board's attention and let you know we will follow up with NIPSCO and Hooper Corporation and we'll be notifying when they close roads, and they're not currently doing that. So when they came before the board, they kind of gave the rundown of what their maintenance of traffic would look like, and we're not necessarily seeing that. So we'll put them on notice and make sure that they are doing much better, making sure that residents can get around, and we're able to notify people and let them know when they're not going to be able to get through. So 18th Street Greenway, they started some clearing and staking, and there's going to be some silt fence going up, and we're still looking at that project being open for students to ride their bikes to school, first day of school. So pretty excited about that. And there'll be some more information to come. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but Heart of La Porte plan is an award-winning plan, so that was nice to know. And then also We applied for a DNR grant, and there's probably going to be some good news on that coming out soon too. Let the mayor share the rest.
Well, the 18th Street, that's exciting. I think a lot of people are excited about that, almost as excited about people in Monroe Manor to get that done. Mike Frey's streets,
We're out doing chrome rubber, crack sealing, and patching, and getting tree work done.
Chief Breton,
Just real quickly, our street crimes is up and running. In fact, the street crimes was instrumental in our Mucho Mas burglary, tracking down the suspect. They actually got in a foot pursuit with him and got him in for questioning, so that was major. So now we have 4 officers dedicated to drugs, working drugs. And also, we're having agility tests on the 29th at P&W to start another hiring list. So we do have a retirement coming in September that we know about, so, and one in January.
Chief Snyder.
Just to let the community know, the Rock the Park Fest for the firefighters is this Saturday beginning at 3:30 for the first band. And we did pass all of our ladder testing from Underwriter Laboratories this past week.
All department heads that do not have business. Joni Lehman, our treasurer. Courtney never wants that option, so sorry.
Well, she left me a few notes, so I'm gonna do it. Not only did sewage apply for the SWIFT grant, water also did for a large project. I don't know if Tim wants to go into the details on that.
Yeah, we applied for the well, the
Okay.
new wells we're drilling, $1.7 million for that project, so we wrapped that in the SWIFT, same as Jerry did with some of his projects.
We are starting budgets for 2022. I had our first meetings yesterday with the Finance Committee and department heads. We will continue that this week. Our goal is to have, to become closer to a balanced budget and at the same time look for efficiencies within each department. Our State Board of Account audit is done. Our exit conference, I believe, is next week. I have no more information than that. I don't know if there's any findings or not. So, that's it.
Now, department heads that do not have business in front of Board of Works can now go enjoy the rest of their day. So we'll move to new business. Sunflower Fair street closures for September 18th from 4 a.m. till 6 p.m. You have this in front of you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
It's nice to see it coming back.
Absolutely. Further questions, concerns? All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Rolling Street Closure Pop Warner Parade. As you can see, August 15th, the Pop Warner Association is looking to have a parade to go from Kiwanis Field to Kessling, and they will have events and different things on that day. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Is that on a Sunday?
Correct. That's why they wanted to wait till the afternoon, so individuals that wanted to go to church could do so in the morning.
Okay.
So, and it's just to be clear, like it's a rolling closure, so it'll close like as the parade moves and then open right up behind it.
Correct.
Okay.
And there will also be a football game between the Pop Warner coaches and the city of LaPorte. So all of you department heads, find your helmets and old pads to put on for that day.
Truly? Are you being sarcastic?
Truly. Truly.
Are you the quarterback?
Pop Warner has put out kind of the gauntlet on the city of LaPorte, so Yeah, they're the ones that want this, and they're gonna get it.
Who's
Nice.
quarterbacking?
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll have to figure that one out.
We're gonna have
Notice,
tryouts?
The mayor was a pretty good quarterback in the day. I can attest to that.
So I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes 3-0. We'll just keep moving over that. Street closure request for home football games. We have a letter from Athletic Director Ed Gilland. This is standard every week, or every season for the football, for those closures. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Lakefest Farmers Market, street closure. Jess Bruder.
Just requesting that we close Monroe Street from Lincoln Way to State on Friday, July 30th for the downtown farmers market as a part of Lakefest. We'll be having some food vendors as well as live music from our very own E-Man.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. And Jess, are we gonna contact the businesses along?
I think most of them have already been contacted.
Okay.
I failed to mention, we're also requesting to close the parking lot, the city's parking lot at the corner as well for vendor parking.
And the sushi restaurant right there, we'll make sure they're aware.
I think everybody's been notified at this point,
Okay.
with the exception of just a handful.
Perfect. Further discussion?
What's the feedback been? Positive overall from?
From businesses, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Lakefest Fireworks Aqua X Race Street closures. Mr. Schreiber,
Aquacross.
Aquacross.
Yeah, as you have in front of you, looking to close Grangemouth. They would close that beginning at 8 a.m. on Saturday, after the event is done at 6 p.m. Sunday. We would likely open it up at least for a stretch on Saturday evening, as we do have a sunset paddle in there, and we want to make sure there's access to the kayak launch. But we do want to have the ability to keep it closed as much as we have to, because Grangemouth will be a major way of getting the jet skis to the beach and back to the dry dock area, which is over by Cummings Lodge. So we want to have the ability to have it closed as much as possible. That's why it's the 8 a.m. Saturday to 6 p.m. Sunday request. And then fireworks from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Holocker, that area to be closed for fireworks setup and for their launch that evening. Additionally on that, we did have a resident that suggested, and I think it's a good one, that we close parking on one side of Vine and one side of Pennsylvania and one side of Greenleaf from 9 to 5 on both Saturday and Sunday. That's just to ensure that those roads don't get congested with traffic and emergency vehicles could get through if necessary. We're not sure how many people might want to watch the jet skis from Lakeshore Drive or be in that area, but I think it's best to be on the safe side, and I would leave it up to Chief Snyder and Chief Brenton as to which side of the street they think makes sense to do. I don't know if it's 1/6 of one, half dozen of the other, but I'd like to add that if I could to the request.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. So if you can just clarify, are police and fire good with those closures?
Yes, at one time, the residents during the boat races asked for a permanent restriction of one side or the other. This is a real good trade-off, just to do it at special events rather than to restrict parking all the time.
So with these closures, will there be any, excuse me, with the closures, will there be any I think we've had some shuttles before, right, from some parking areas?
Right, yeah, see, we're not planning on shuttles this year, and that's why I don't think there'll be as much parking in the neighborhoods, because we have a lot more parking available at the beach house as opposed to when we did the Grand Prix, which was the large tunnel boats, and they had their pits throughout that whole area, so there was no parking close For this event, we have all of the beach house parking, all of the auxiliary parking around available. So I think most residents or most visitors to the event will be able to be accommodated at the beach house. So you won't have that influx. We're not doing fireworks on that lake that night. That was another place where a lot of people came and crushed down on the lake to see those fireworks. So I don't anticipate the same issues, but I think it's better to be out in front of it rather than, have an issue.
Okay.
And we didn't even encourage those to ride their bikes to Stone Lake to enjoy the festivities.
Absolutely, or take your kayak, absolutely.
Or take your kayak, yes.
Absolutely.
So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Mark. And again, thank you for all your efforts and your team on Lake Fest. David Heinhold, interesting, 702 Lincoln Way. This is intriguing.
Good morning, David Heinold, Planning Department. I sent you an application for Redwood remodeling at 702 Lincoln Way. It's the Suite C, so it's the blue building. It's the last building, or the last suite on the alleyway. They're requesting to use the space by, in between the sidewalk, the 5-foot ADA accessible area, and the curb. So between the light post and there's a tree there as well. They're requesting basically to put out some tables and chairs, and they requested to put out some standard decking as indicated in the report, as you see there, and they also install a fence around it for their employees' use. Staff has reviewed the request and consulted with the engineering department. Just continuing, we will work with the applicant as far as maintaining that 5-foot path. Basically from the planter to the building is that 5-foot area, and anything towards the curb they can use. There is, of note, there is a fiber optic manhole cover there within the middle of the area that they're requesting to use. So staff would request that they work around that utility area. Otherwise, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Is there a time frame for this? How long they want to use this?
There's no time frame that they specified in here. The ordinance does say 2014 that businesses come back every year.
An
Annual permit to use
they
the
do
sidewalk.
They would have to submit an additional permit next year to do it again. What we've done in the past is the board would approve the first time, and then we approve in the engineering department renewals if they met all the requirements the first time, and we're doing the same thing. So in this case, I think there's a lot going on there, and if there's changes or anything like that, it'd come back to the board again next year.
But this is for their employees to take breaks.
Correct.
Discussion? I'm not sure how I feel about it, actually. I mean, they're not going to be blocking, it looks like.
No, and there's specific guidelines for how high the fence has to be, and they can't be over, I think it's 36 inches in height.
Engineering's looked it over, correct? So like
Yeah,
the
so-
look and,
Yeah, ADA accessibility is good for this as far as public right-of-way. I don't know if this has really been to the board much, this project, but the developer of this is kind of turning a building to face the plaza, and if nothing else, having some additional units along Monroe, this is a good example of what people can have if they were to open a cafe or something like that in one of those units. So, although it seems to be for the
Employees.
contractor, it also, is a good example for the developer as to what we can start to see along Monroe. Hopefully we can work with them in the future to make more improvements too, to really have the improvements to that building connect well to the plaza and create a nice kind of active area there.
How does this affect the ice cream shop that's, I shouldn't say ice cream, but
downtown delights.
Downtown Delights? How does this
This-
affect their business?
This is further down the Monroe, so they still have that corner area. This is 2 buildings down from the downtown delights area. So there's room on that sidewalk.
So I echo your comments, Mayor, that I kind of, not sure how I feel about it, but it seems kind of intriguing that, I mean, I was just actually reading the other day about like outdoor spaces and employees and just overall general mental health and well-being to be able to get outside. Have we done something like this before that's purely a private, opportunity, I guess?
No,
But it will be aesthetic, correct?
yeah.
The
that's-
appearance of it will be aesthetic, and I think that will be a draw, and like you said, will give
Yeah.
other people or other businesses along Lincoln Way the opportunity to see what could be, the potential for. I also think if he's working in that building to remodel, is that it, or is he owning that building as a remodeling agency?
The company that's doing the work. But in addition, I think submitted in the application, a lot of times they show furniture and things like that. I don't think they've selected that yet, so I would ask that, we be able to review that and approve it. We've had in the past people putting out kind of like plastic tables that when the wind caught them, they became hazards in the
yeah.
road. So we do look for a certain level of quality of the materials that they would have for the actual seating and stuff like that too. So we would want to see that before they actually put it out.
But this is for just their employees when they want to take a break and only when they want to break.
Correct, and the applicant is here if you'd like to ask questions of them.
I just want to make sure I understand. So the backside of the blue building or the southern third of the building,
Yep. By the
Not
alley.
even that much space. So there's a tree well and a planter. There's a section between that tree well and the planter, more or less.
and they just want to sit out there during break, then pick up their chairs and take them in when they're done with break.
Or possibly leave furniture out there that we would then, or engineering and David, would say is appropriate.
Yeah, and then,
I mean, we support outdoor dining, so,
Yeah.
but I just want to make sure the access for people to walk by
Yeah.
and.
the ordinance is very specific in its guidelines of what can be used as far as types of materials for fencing and see-through, and the appearance of that.
So is Terry here?
Dudley is here to answer questions.
Oh, there's Dudley.
Redwood Remodeling.
Mr. Byler, welcome, and we appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you. I didn't know this was on the docket today, but since I was here, my name's Dudley Byler. I'm the owner of 702 Lincoln Way. I'm developing it. Also have my team there, which this is my application. Redwood Remodeling is part of my team to execute on our projects. So my intentions with that space is to have kind of a breakout workspace, to have meetings, breaks, et cetera. When I did the application, it was for kind of a cafe liquor thing. I kind of shoehorned this in here because I didn't know of another way, but the goals behind it was to show what the possibilities are. And also I found that adding things like this are a nice incentive to attract, great people to work with. It's something kind of cool to maybe be working on a project on your Wi-Fi on the patio, and then get back in the office and take a call or whatever it is. In terms of working with however the design aesthetic that we need, I'm here. I opened up, as you know, the side of the Monroe building to work with that plaza. The blue color of the building was meant to reflect the dark blue images of the mural on the other side. So my intentions here were show possibilities, attract and retain good talent, and it turns out it's something a little bit different, but.
So more than just an industrial, what I'll call, or construction site for guys to come take a break. This is public, you're gonna show something that could be for a lot of owners downtown.
Absolutely. And you commented about Downtown Delights. I mean, that's a tenant of mine. So I'm also showing like what the tenant could do in the middle space that's not yet rented. Like here, I think part of the challenge that we've had is getting people to see the vision of it. I know Charity's got a nice setup there at Hotspot, and I've had a lot of conversations with her to, what can we, you almost have to lead it to water, so to speak. So that's my intention. It's not by no means is it a place where they're gonna throw materials and people are gonna do, hanging out. not the intention.
That
The
answers my
building, the
question.
building certainly looks great. Looks very nice.
Thank you.
Is there, is Redwood going to also be the tenant in that?
And C, Suite C, correct, which is the rear part of the building. This space will be directly in front of
Yeah,
it.
so they'll do the work, but
Correct.
also that's gonna be their office space.
Correct.
And then, okay.
So I do have a motion and a second, further discussion. All those in favor?
Well, Mr. Otis, so just wondering, like, we approve this, like, I can't really think of what some unforeseen circumstances, but I guess that's why they're unforeseen. If something doesn't go well, where there's a problem with, traffic flow or whatever, is there any way to then dial this back? Should there
Yes.
be?
Yep.
Okay.
And
All right,
It
so I
also
think
sounds
that's-
like he's here and he's very well spoken and willing to work with us if anything
Yeah.
comes up. But to David's point, then there's 5 feet between the building and the planter that has to be accessible to everybody. It cannot be blocked, and I believe you understand that, correct? So I don't,
Dudley has good
pretty
credibility
good.
with the city for all the work that he's doing, so.
I think it's a pretty neat concept too, to like, I would imagine that if there are businesses where folks are out, stepping outside, like, Wi-Fi, working on their computers, that it kind of would add to some of the vibrancy of the downtown throughout the day, so,
especially for those of us that don't live on the lake.
very true.
Perfect, so we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by
Wait, I
saying.
think-
If I may,
David?
I have a correction on this. In the ordinance under 2.4, platforms like raised decks and other surfaces are not permitted within outdoor cafe dining areas, so they would not be allowed to do a raised decking for that. And that's any kind of covering materials.
I mean, we like what Dudley's doing on this building. What about smoking? Won't be allowed on that sidewalk? I don't know if we
Can
can
we-
even address that.
Can we
Probably.
even address that?
No.
No?
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second for the discussion. Go ahead.
No, I'm
Going
good.
once, twice? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. And again, Dudley, thanks for what you're doing down there. All right. David Heinhold, Don George Ford property. We're excited for this. Let your minds.
Well, David Heinold, the Community Development Planning Department, just presenting this. This is the opening bid date for the Don George Ford Building, 150 Pine Lake Avenue. I think I saw,
I have proof of publication. It was published in the Herald Dispatch on June 23rd and June 30th, which meets the requirements for a public offering. This is a public offering for that property. We have received one.
One total?
One total. And I'm going to hand it to somebody who knows what he's reading. Oh, David's gonna read
One
it?
total bid.
One total, that's all we got.
Interesting.
Disappointing.
so it looks like the only bid that was received was from Dudley Byler. Address 702 Lincoln Way, Suite C. So submission date of July 20th. Then do I pass this around or
I think you just read the total.
Yeah.
read the total amount? Let's see, trying to find it's on the second page.
That's why Dudley's here. Can't wait to hear it.
Let's see, request form.
It's not always easy to find.
Yeah, Buried we in take here.
it under advisement anyways.
You look at it, you mean.
David, could we have, because we do have to take it by,
Well, we'll take
Attorney
it under
through
for legal
advisement.
review, right.
maybe we could have Dudley kind of explain the
Yeah.
concept?
Can we hear the price though as well, once you find it?
I was looking
Or
for
maybe
it, yeah.
Dudley can tell us, he might know.
Quickly, just kind of in the meantime, like that, for that piece of property, we had talked about prior that there's gonna be that easement, right? along the lake for, that the city maintains. Is that still the case?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I like the name.
I do too.
Where'd you like me to begin?
Price.
Price. My bid is $30,000. My proposal is to align the interests of the project with where the city has talked about living the lake life. And what does that mean? That all kind of means something a little different for us. But along the lake life, it was marrying the body of water, ability to collect with friends and family, have activities, and enjoy the actual lake. When I look at Lily Lake, I see an opportunity that needs activation. I see a very sleepy asset that could be put to good use. And so that's what my proposal is taking the site, cleaning it up, removing all the trees, bushes, et cetera. I've named the project the Lily Pad because part of my proposal is a floating dock off of that parcel that could hold, whether it be a kayak launch, it could be potentially seating for a restaurant, and that was kind of the Lily Pad, which was the origins of the name. The proposal suggests repurposing the Barrel House building with a partial demolition. Obviously, the building has been compromised in some way. I would like the opportunity to get my structural engineering team out there to review to the extent of what it's been compromised, but to repurpose the Barrel House, anyone that's been in it, I look at that no different than kind of what I saw 702 Lincoln Way when it was in the condition it was. I see a really cool structure that could be that again, and repurposed into more of a kind of an entertainment space. Retaining the cement block building at the rear of the building, which would host more of a bar restaurant concept. And then along, excuse me, between the Barrel House building and the cement block building, that's where you'd have potentially some of your bocce ball, some of your bags, outdoor ping pong, activities, fire pit along the lake there, activities to bring people together, and have a place to celebrate and live the lake life. Ideally, this is stuff you'd tie in with the Chessie Trail for bike parking, storage, rental, as well as kayaks, and then the long-term vision of potentially opening up the Weller Bridge and then connecting this, kind of serving potentially as a hub to connect the lakes and kayak rental, docking, et cetera. So I know you're pressed on time. That was kind of a quick.
No, and I think, and I would like to open this up to department heads that may have questions. Dudley, so the 90 days, part of mine, so I want to make sure I understand, the building part of it, you're thinking of staying with or keeping up, not demolition?
That would be my preference. I would leave that to more of the structural engineers to say, hey, you can go with this. That would be my preference. I put out the timeline there as part of the proposal, because I know it's important to the city in terms of land or building banking. Not my intention, and I just want to make sure I address that concern, and I use Lincoln Way as my guidance. Like, I'm not here to sit on property or buildings. Lincoln Way was something that hadn't been touched in a number of years, wasn't its intended purpose. I redeveloped it to this new purpose and led the whole project through a pandemic, epic material rises and labor shortages, and we're here at the finish line. I say that to say, like, look, I'm not, like, when I say this, my intention is to do it, and that was some way of conveying how I'm gonna try to work through it.
I guess my point, and again, this looks really interesting to say the least, and again, I want to reiterate, you've been a great partner for the city. I'd sure love to see, if possible, whatever portion of that demolition can be done sooner. Certainly would appreciate it. I'm sure Andy would appreciate it as well. I know you've been out there from a safety perspective.
Right, and that's the only thing I would reiterate is from a public safety aspect, a decision needs to be made as quickly as possible, whether that's going to be rehabilitated, and if so, then get it done as quickly as possible, because there have been a number of instances of people being in that building. And luckily, no one has been hurt yet, but if that doesn't get taken care of quickly, it won't continue.
And Dudley, parking, you're thinking there is space?
So I was leaning on my architects for that. That was kind of an approximation as we're looking at, it's a function of, you know, what square footage of that building can be saved, you know, what we're, in terms of capacity of what, you know, square footage we're able to have on that site. And that was, in terms of where the architects came out, that will, as we continue to dig into it, that will change. But again, just a proxy.
And is your goal to at least like the lakeside dining to stay open year-round, or is this a summer event?
Surely the summer, but ideally year-round. You know, I think what I failed to mention is some of these, leveraging some of the space there for smaller pop-up shops for some of the artisans and local entrepreneurs that can absorb a smaller square footage, and we could do fall and winter events, whether it be you know, a Christmas or holiday market out there. It could be potentially something you could sell Christmas trees, you know, fall pumpkins. That's where, you know, the fire pit, still keeping that space alive and well to be used, because that's the challenge here, and that's part of what my bid reflects. My bid reflects the return on community element of this, right? Like, the best use for this space is to knock the whole thing down and build something mixed use, put a fast food chain in there. That's that's where you're gonna get your highest dollar. But my proposal is the return on the community element, where I'm not sitting here, I'm not optimizing for leasable square footage, right? I'm trying to take what it is here and provide a platform for operators to have a business in the lake available to everyone to use and come and take a trip on a kayak or a stand-up paddleboard.
Further questions, Board of Works or department heads? Have we done environmental, do we have a phase one? So is that something, so I happen to see here an environmental review, that's accessible to Dudley. We can share that, so we can hopefully save you cost if you're interested.
Certainly.
I mean, there's no reason, is that what you were planning with your environmental review?
Yeah, I had heard, yes, it was out there, but I hadn't seen it, and I didn't want to dive into this with the plans that I've had and then come out and be like, oh, there's this issue and that requires extra mediation or whatever it is. I didn't want any unknowns, so that's why I put it as a condition.
If you're comfortable with
Yeah,
that.
we have a phase one and phase two, depending on, you know, a developer's financing. A lot of times a bank would require a phase one in their name, and potentially phase two if the data isn't available. So, having an environmental review component would be normal and appropriate, even if we do that on the front end, so that you know, the conditions are.
And would we still have access, public access to the lake, I believe is.
The intent of the offer was to create an opportunity to create an easement to have access to the lake as necessary. So if not fully for public to be able to launch a kayak or something like that, but at least to be able to maintain it at a you know, good quality as far as shorelines go.
Is that your understanding as well with the easement?
That was part of the verbal conversations. I didn't see it, but as I think what you've seen from me now, I'm trying to be collaborative, and I see, frankly, I see that as, you know, part of the space, right? Like, you want, and if that's something, space that you want, and we can work together on that, and again, activate the lake, I think that's the goal.
Great, just wanted to hear you say it.
And I love the shipping container idea. I mean,
Yeah, me
have you
too.
done that in other areas? I mean, it's
Not done the shipping container.
unique to LaPorte, definitely would be great.
So I had a question on that, because I know I've seen that, like, shipping containers being used for lots of very unique, you know, resources and even small homes. So are the shipping containers for vendors to, you know, have someone have a small restaurant there kind of in the shipping container to like serve people dining outside, or is that for storage?
So short answer is both. And I would say the shipping container was, the intention of showing that was the visual aesthetic. It could be a shipping container, it could be something else, but it could be used as storage for kayaks and bikes, and other kind of manual water toys, but also, points of sale for local vendors, whether it be an ice cream, someone that's selling kids' clothing or whatever it is, where my expectation is this is going to be a high-traffic area. So, a local entrepreneur that something that maybe 100 square feet or a small footprint, so they could test their idea or come to market with something to understand feedback, that would be perfect for them, as opposed to, say, something downtown that'd be a couple thousand square feet. So,
And so the bar restaurant, are you planning on running an establishment as the bar restaurant, or would that be, someone would come in, like you'd
I would
find?
find the operator.
Okay.
Further questions? I do have a motion and a second. I gotta say, this concept really I really like it, so Dudley, nice work.
Just to
Did
clarify.
I don't think you have a motion or a second yet, Mayor.
Do I have
I'm
a
sorry,
motion?
we let him present it.
What's the motion for?
We
Motion.
don't have one at all yet.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to approve this, to approve to sending it to engineering and legal for review?
I don't think there needs to be a motion for that. I think what you want to do is say, we're going to bring this back in 2 weeks, or if that's sufficient time for us to take a look at it from engineering perspective.
So we don't need a formal,
And then we would accept the quote at that time?
Correct. The bid.
the bid.
Okay, I'm sorry, it says quote on it.
So if engineering, planning, economic development, and legal could all get together to review this,
Yeah.
that would be great.
I think, you asked about parking. There's zoning considerations that come with that, and we certainly, I'm sure there's flexibility on the city side, but I just want to make sure that, there's a variety of things that, this has been a long time coming. We want to make sure it fits with what the city wants.
But I would definitely like to see this move forward. So with that, are there further questions, discussions?
Can we keep these?
Sure,
Thanks.
those are for you.
Thank you, Dudley.
Pleasure, thank you.
Look forward to
Thanks for the
seeing
opportunity.
more.
You still need a motion to refer it.
Okay.
We need a
Yeah.
motion to what?
Refer it to legal then. Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we refer it to legal and engineering.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Sorry.
All those in favor? Do I have a second?
Yes.
Didn't I say yes, or did I make the motion?
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, David.
So this will come back on the agenda Tuesday, August 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
Mary Ann Richards.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Probably back in May, we opened quotes originally for lead hazard reduction at 913 Ridge, and the price exceeded the budget. So it took me some time, but I located 4 companies, contractors, who were lead certified and met all the HUD regulations, and submitted a revised work scope and quote package to them. And I'm hoping to have gotten 3 of them back, 3 responses. So at this time, Joni has.
We did get 3. The first is from Langley Construction.
And you have a score sheet in front of you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
In the amount of $73,250, 73250.00.
It's better than 94.
The next one is from General Home Construction.
That would be West Butcher Construction.
And their quote is,
Might be towards the back. Maybe.
maybe, maybe not. $68,420. 68420.00. And the last one is from Green Tree Environmental Services. In the amount of $65,929.76. That's 65929.76.
So, before we take a motion, how much money do we have in that account?
About $75,000
For this project, for this specific project, or
for the
for
homeowner
all
repair
of?
program. There's 2 addresses.
So how much money didn't we approve other?
Yeah, we approved work to be done at a second address.
So is 75 the remaining amount? Or
Yes.
for both homes?
For both homes. So I'll have to go back and crunch some numbers.
I guess I'm still uncomfortable that we're gonna spend this type of money, and I understand regarding lead hazard, but making an impact. I mean, do we know how many homes in that area, that's an older area, are lead-related, have lead?
I'm gonna say 100% because of the age of the structures. And there's a handful that we've already done work on throughout the 16 years. There's possibly 5 houses in that area around the Civic that we've worked on. But because of the age of the structures, you can rest assured that 100% of those houses have lead paint in them.
But would this be a typical quote?
Yes.
Is this, I mean, all of materials, building materials, construction materials have increased dramatically in a year and a half. Does that have anything to do with this?
I think
bid
it
being
has a
still
lot
high?
to do with it, and labor costs have gone up.
Yeah, labor's hard to find.
And the process here is, how do they remove it again?
Well, they're lead certified. They have to wet scrape it. Now, on the exterior of the house, we're gonna do vinyl siding instead of repainting it, because it's very labor intensive, because they have to wet scrape the house, prime it, paint it. This way, it'll be easier for them just to put the furring strips up and add the vinyl siding.
And
And then they're also replacing windows, 2 exterior doors, glass block windows down in the basement, removing doors on the interior, planing them to remove friction surfaces, repainting them, reinstalling them, changing out hinges because the hinges are covered in paint. The problem we ran into with the original quote is I had removal and reinstallation of new doors on the inside, but because they were custom ordered doors, the doorways are not standard sizes. It was gonna run about $1,000 a door.
so what happens when somebody sells a house with lead paint in it? Is it allowed at this point?
In the state of Indiana, yes.
And in the
Probably
city of
depending on the
LaPorte?
type of loan as well, I would think, like
Yeah.
whether if it's FHA or some other type.
And
of-
I'm not a realtor, so I don't know what kind of disclosures are required.
It's on the residential sales disclosure form if you fill one out.
And
But I would venture to say
It can be sold, I'm just saying you have
90%
to
of the
disclose.
people selling their houses don't know if there is a lead paint presence in their house.
they don't know.
They do not know.
How would you know?
Get it tested.
You can get tested.
Right, I mean, you'd have to get it tested. I'm just saying, walking in, how would you, as a
Right.
person walking through the house, have any
So if
idea?
we fix this house up or remove the lead, and then they sell it in a year, which obviously is a,
If
They
they
can't
sell it
do
in a
it.
year, they're gonna pay us back 100% of our investment. Because on every single house that participates in the homeowner repair program, there's a 7-year recapture period, and it's included in the deferred loan that is recorded. And then there's a prorated schedule of repayment should they sell the house within that 7 years. If they sell it or convert it to a rental, they have to pay us back.
but we would be second tier. They have to pay their mortgage off if they sold it first.
Correct.
So then we'd only potentially get a portion of that back, and then the city's chasing, correct?
Actually, in all the houses that have been sold, we have recouped a prorated amount per the schedule. The only time we've lost money is if it's a foreclosure.
How's the fire department feel about this? Do you deal with lead? I mean, are you guys testing? Are you doing anything?
We usually don't deal with lead. I mean, when we're in a house, we take care of the immediate need first, and if it's an inspection, we don't do residential inspections, so we really don't get involved with it. If it's a commercial building or something like that, we'll work with engineering and IDEM as far as the remediation of it.
Again, I'm not trying to drag this out any further, but it just seems like a lot of money for one home.
Well,
and
it
you
might not
just-
even be in your budget with
it
all
also
of the
is
repairs for
concerning-
the two houses.
Because we also have electrical work to do, plumbing work to do, some roofing work to do.
On that same house?
Yeah.
I'd also.
In addition to the other house, the other address, the second address.
I would also wonder if these dollars could be better spent, as you said, if homeowners don't even know if they have lead in their home, to maybe take a first step of going home to test to notify the homeowners.
How,
But just keep in mind that 51% of the beneficiaries have to be low to moderate income. So if we go inside and offer a program where we do lead testing, 51% of the people have to qualify as a low-mod income household.
But in that area.
I mean, we can't do a blanket.
No, but along that area.
that would have to be a different program, possibly?
Correct.
So what's to prevent 150 homeowners to come forward tomorrow with requests for, mitigation, remodeling of this nature? Like,
Economic demographics,
I mean,
it
is it
sounds
just-
like, low income.
but I mean, what's to prevent 25 homes tomorrow from showing up to say, hey, we also want this, we also want to take advantage of this program, and then us saying, well, gosh, we just spent everything on this one house.
This program takes applications every August for the next year, for repairs, including lead remediation, lead hazard reduction. At times, I've gotten as many as 40 applications from individuals. And then we go through and vet them to see who's eligible, who's income eligible, have they owned the house in enough, within 2 years? Do they supply us with all the necessary documentation so we can vet them? And we whittle them down. One time early on, we did 15 houses in 1 year.
Will your budget be much different for 2022 than
I
it
have a
is?
little bit more money budgeted for 2022.
What is a little bit more?
I have, I believe, $180,000.
And this year you had 75
Yes.
total?
Actually, I had 90.
90. So you've got twice as much?
Yes.
Yeah,
Can these
Can we
dollars
just-
be rolled over, though?
yeah, that's a good question.
Yes.
So then we could take whatever's not used, maybe towards paint, get all the other stuff done, and then we'd have more money next year to do more with.
I can't touch a house with anything unless I address the lead first. If I put 1 penny into the property, I have to address the lead. That's federal lead rules.
I think you have to go back and see how much you can even do with this proposal.
I would recommend that we table it for 2 weeks, and I can review everything, crunch some numbers, and come back with a recommendation at the next Board of Works meeting.
I'd also like to see, like, if what you're saying is potentially true with lead being in a majority of these homes, and in that area, you probably do have a high number of lower income, is get a lead paint kind of program put together of what our plan is, or a plan of, do we want to address it? How do we want to address it? The federal government, in the most recent funds that they've shared with local government, lead paint is a priority as a part of their housing section of the FR fund bill, or federal recovery bills. Lead paint is a priority there in low income, especially with children in the home. So I'd love to see an overall plan of how to address lead paint in the city of LaPorte, especially in low income.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because it would have to be under a different program again, correct? And you're saying that those dollars could go towards something like that, potentially?
Could, yes.
And possibly, maybe if we're looking at bids at that time, or quotes, excuse me. I know you're gonna correct me, Nick. If we had more to do at once, we would get better bids, in theory. I think the hard thing is, as you told us before, is that getting contractors that are certified and qualified to do the lead paint
There's
removal
13 in the state of Indiana,
yeah, in the whole state.
and there used to be several hundred.
So getting 3 was pretty fortunate, I guess.
So do I have a motion to table for 2 weeks?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Mary Ann. Modification of grant agreement with Center Township trustee.
Center Township trustee was awarded a grant using CDBG COVID dollars last year. And it's taking them additional time to spend the money, to disperse the money. The original ending date was December 31st of 2020. The grant agreement was modified back in January to make it June 30th. They're requesting an additional modification to extend the grant agreement to December 31st of 2021.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Why is it taking so long, though? Because I would
There
think
are
they'd be
so
so
many
excited
other
to spend money.
Opportunities for folks to get financial assistance. At the time the grant agreement was done, there was Center Township. Indiana Housing Community Development Authority got money, United Way got money, the Lilly Foundation provided United Ways throughout the state of Indiana funding. The Unity Foundation has funding. There's an enormous amount. Plus, we're finding out that many of the landlords are not accepting this funding as payment. So we're anticipating once the moratorium ends at the end of this month, you're going to see a ton of
And
evictions.
that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
And the people that, I mean, they've had opportunity through the dollars that have come individually to pay, to the stimulus money to pay rent.
Correct. There's multiple funding streams for financial assistance for individuals who want to take advantage of it. Also, there's been the stimulus checks, which decreased the need, and now this child tax credit is decreasing the need. The federal unemployment payments.
But again, people have had opportunity to pay their rent going along with
Yes.
stimulus or working. And so they've had that opportunity. And this is all COVID related. You have to have
Right.
been affected by COVID in some fashion, correct?
The payments that we have provided to the Center Township trustee, as well as to Catholic Charities, people became late in paying their rent because they came down with COVID. They were working, they had to take time off. Companies, their employers didn't offer paid sick time. So these folks were unemployed. They technically were not eligible for unemployment because they weren't available for work. Plus, they were still kept on the books for the employer, even though they weren't getting paid. So that disqualified them from unemployment. So as a result, they had family members come down and apply for
Wait,
financial assistance.
I'm sorry, go back to that. They weren't working there, but they were kept on the books.
Right. They were on sick time, but it was unpaid sick time.
But it was COVID related.
Correct.
So you could still be an employee, because I have several clients who practiced under the same operation where the business was closed, whether it was a restaurant, retail, et cetera, or the person was unable to work because of family matters, and they still were on the books as an employee but able to receive unemployment.
Providing they weren't sick. But if they had been working up until the time they contracted COVID, they came down with COVID, they needed to take time off to isolate, recuperate. The companies didn't offer paid sick time.
Depending on the situation, possibly not, but they still could have at that time applied for unemployment.
But
And maybe
that's
that
what
was
these
just
dollars
their
could be used for.
misunderstanding.
Right, and that's what the majority of these dollars have been spent on, is covering rental payments for folks who had to take unpaid sick time to recuperate or isolate from COVID.
So we also have $280 million from the state to help apply. We have $147,000 here that now that the restriction is going to end at the end of the month, these should be available. And I say that because I know the county has stepped up and put some dollars on.
Right.
But I think that coming to the city of LaPorte for another $50,000, which was their goal, I think right now we've got to work through the dollars that are available
Correct.
first. Before we
So
spend.
in this amount though, so for this extension that's being requested, is it the full 147 that's remaining?
Actually, there's a
or is-
balance of 127,000, I'm sorry, $129,514. The 147,129 was the original grant amount. And so what we're doing is amending the original grant amount. So that dollar amount won't change. Center Township was able to serve 92 individuals as a result. And there's a balance of $129,514.
But the city of LaPorte is supporting individuals in our community to help with rental issues.
Yes.
So I don't want anybody to say the city of LaPorte isn't doing anything. We gave $147,000 as a part of this. So do we need to modify this agreement to that amount then?
No, I would keep that amount the same. Just amend the date, the ending date of the agreement.
So
Should
do I
be
have a
the
mo-
end of this year.
So do I have a motion to approve?
Did we do that already or no?
I thought we did.
I thought we did. but I'm not-
I thought we did as well.
You did.
We do have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
So just with this, worst-case scenario, right, given the deadline here that's going to terminate with regarding the protection, the moratorium, So if it's not spent, you know, by the end of the year, I mean, that's a year and a half of spending
Right.
less than 20,000 of it, so
We
we probably
can
just.
continue modifying the agreement, or we can
Pull
close
it
it
back
out.
and move it
HUD
elsewhere.
is allowing the COVID dollars to continue to be spent through 2022, through the year 2022.
Because these are specific for COVID, correct?
Yes.
It's not just rental assistance, it's very
Correct.
specific to being affected by COVID.
Correct.
Well, guess we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
So I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Mary Ann.
Thanks, Mary Ann.
You don't want to stay for the rest of the fun?
We have in like 2 minutes.
There you go, I like it. All right, Nick Minnick, NIPSCO LED replacement acknowledgement.
We've been working with NIPSCO on and off. They've been talking about doing an LED streetlight replacement program. This is an acknowledgement form and gives us the opportunity to choose the color of our lighting. We went through this a few years back with downtown, and really their standard at 4,000 Kelvin is very bright and not necessarily as conducive to kind of the neighborhoods our street lights are in as we like. So this is, like I said, an acknowledgement that they'll be switching out the 1,359 street lights that NIPSCO has in our community. And also we would like to make the recommendation that the 3,000 Kelvin would be the, you know, the most we would want to see. So, and that's more on the yellow side than on the bright white side.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second discussion, and this would include the Mitch Ficus lights that are going up out at his,
Those would be owned by us, so that's
Okay.
separate. So we're not having a NIPSCO light put in there. We own.
I just wanted to make sure he heard that, so in case it's on the list.
We do own our own streetlights, and those are metered, but only in certain locations and in certain developments.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We don't have a motion.
Yes.
Yeah. I did and Mark seconded.
Mark seconded.
Sorry, we missed it.
That's right.
Sorry.
All
I'll
those-
talk louder, Joni.
All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Vehicle preemption.
The next item I had was the emergency vehicle preemption project. This is to put the Opticom system on 2 intersections, which will serve the fire department's ability to basically get right onto Lincoln Way. We have an agreement with United Consulting to kind of look at the big picture too, but this was the first step in that, and bidding this and getting those installed is going to help us set up some federal dollars that we can access later to do the rest of the city. So I would recommend that we bid this project, and we'll work with United to, there's some dates and things to adjust in the contract documents. But
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second discussion. Would this, do we have preemption approved on the north side
So-
fire station? Because it seems like after much discussion, our fire department might be doing more work at 39 North,
Do you
doing
mean
some
by
things.
like Holiday Inn and
Well,
obviously
even
on that
further
side?
north, outside of the city limits.
Yes.
And do we have that preemption to take us further north?
We can add that as part of this program. So what's nice is this is actually a partnership with, we're trying to work with EMS and other individuals to make sure that we can serve a wide range of areas, and it's a good package. So it can definitely expand in other directions.
But that 39 North area seems to be priority or in need possibly, so that we've talked about.
Yeah, and Tim can kind of speak to it, and Andy can from fire protection. I think
Oh, he left.
there's kind of a known concern with fire protection in that area, so you know, just being able to get all units to that area is probably much benefit.
So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Nick. Beth West, Schnabel Alarms.
Before you use the new contract for our fire alarm system at Transport, this monitors our water suppression system. We had to have, back in May, we've determined that our system needed to be updated. This is just a new contract with Schnabel Alarm, also showing that we're gonna pay annually instead of quarterly.
I'll make a motion to approve the new Schnabel alarm.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Wherever the original's at, I just need a signature on that one.
Thank you. You come at the end of the meeting, things move quick. Other business, announcement of special location. So August 3rd, we're excited to announce that we will be hosting the Board of Works meeting at the Healthcare Foundation of LaPorte, and I think tours will be available. I think media will be there, right? We'll have access, so we're excited about that. And before we adjourn, any other topics? I think the budget is the big one as we look at efficiencies while improving services to our residents. And then, as Joni had mentioned, a structural balanced budget, which I think is important for future administrations and leaders in the city of LaPorte. So, and, you know, we're only dealing with potential increases of a total of $450,000 over a budget. Trying to pay good people well is hard, plus all the other things that we have to consider. So it's an opportunity to take a fresh look across the board. So with that, any further items? Mr. Kosher, anything you want to add about your bike trail? Looking for the Jimmy V Foundation donation for your biking?
If anybody's interested in donating, let me know. I can send you the link. I'm riding from Boise, Idaho to Salt Lake City, Utah. For
How many miles?
V Foundation. I think it's 225, 250 miles.
Is that over 3
days.
months?
3 days.
Oh, okay.
That's Jerry Jackson mode.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll join you. Jerry, there you go.
Need a practice ride with Jerry, I think.
He won't want to do that, I'm just telling you.
Sunday mornings.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.